They slashed my pay the week we hit $2.9 billion in sales. Then put the CEO's daughter in my seat. No one knew the platform they used needed this. At 10 a.m., all clients disconnected. They removed my name from a $2.50 million contract that I built from scratch. No acknowledgement. No reward. I knew I was being phased out. I left quietly. But then the customer called. I thought about their future and their downfall. I, 29F, stared at my laptop screen, watching our company's stock price hit an all-time high as we crossed $2.9 billion in quarterly sales. The irony wasn't lost on me that the same week they decided to slash my salary by 30%, citing budget constraints and market volatility. The email had arrived on a Tuesday morning, buried between routine updates and meeting invitations. My manager explained that due to restructuring, my role was being modified and my compensation adjusted accordingly. No discussion. No negotiation. Just a cold corporate decision delivered through sterile corporate speak. What made it worse was seeing the CEO's daughter walk into my corner office the very next day. She carried herself with the confidence of someone who had never earned anything, her designer heels clicking against the marble floor as she surveyed what would soon become her domain. The facilities team was already moving my belongings to a cramped cubicle near the break room. I had built the client management platform from the ground up over 3 years. Every line of code, every integration, every security protocol bore my fingerprints. The system handled over 40 major enterprise clients, processing millions in transactions daily. But apparently, my expertise was now expendable. The platform required a specific authentication refresh every 72 hours. It was a security feature I had implemented after a minor breach attempt last year. The process was manual, requiring administrator-level access and a unique encryption key that I had memorized. I had documented it, of course, but the documentation was stored in my personal encrypted folder on the company server. During my final week, I watched the new management team fumble through basic operations. The CEO's daughter asked me to explain the system architecture, but her questions revealed a fundamental misunderstanding of how enterprise software functioned. She nodded along as I provided surface-level explanations, clearly more interested in the prestige of the position than its responsibilities. The breaking point came when I discovered they had removed my name from the Morrison Industries contract. $2.5 million in annual recurring revenue, a deal I had negotiated over 18 months of relationship building, technical demonstrations, and custom solution development. The contract signature page now listed the CEO's daughter as the primary account manager and technical lead. No acknowledgement. No credit. No recognition of the countless late nights and weekend calls that had made the deal possible. Morrison Industries had specifically requested to work with me after I had solved a critical integration issue that their previous vendor couldn't handle. But according to the official records, I had never existed. I realized then that I was being systematically erased from the company's history. They wanted my knowledge and my client relationships, but they didn't want me. The writing was on the wall, and it spelled out my inevitable termination once they felt confident they could operate without me. So I made a decision. I would leave quietly, professionally, without causing a scene. I submitted my resignation letter, citing personal reasons and career growth opportunities. I cleaned out my desk, returned my company laptop, and walked out of the building for the last time on a Friday afternoon. But I didn't hand over the authentication protocols. The following Monday morning, I was having coffee at a cafe near my apartment when my phone started buzzing with notifications. Text messages, missed calls, emails marked urgent. The company's entire client management platform had gone offline at exactly 10 a.m., disconnecting all 43 enterprise clients simultaneously. The authentication refresh had failed, triggering an automatic security lockdown that required manual intervention. Without the proper credentials and encryption key, the system remained inaccessible. Every client portal showed an error message, every automated transaction was suspended, and every real-time integration had stopped functioning. I ignored the first wave of calls from my former colleagues. Then the CEO himself started calling. His voicemails grew increasingly desperate as the hours passed and the platform remained down. Major clients were threatening to terminate their contracts. The stock price began dropping as news of the outage spread through industry channels. By Wednesday, the situation had escalated beyond a simple technical issue. Morrison Industries had called an emergency meeting to discuss their contract status. They were concerned about data security and system reliability, questioning whether the company could deliver on its promises. Other clients were expressing similar concerns, and several had already initiated conversations with competitors. That's when Morrison Industries called me directly. Their CTO explained that they had been trying to reach someone who understood their specific integration requirements, but the new account manager seemed unfamiliar with the technical details. They had heard through industry contacts that I was no longer with the company, and they wanted to know if I would be interested in consulting on their project independently. The irony was delicious. The same contract they had stolen from me was now in jeopardy because they couldn't deliver the technical expertise that Morrison Industries required. The CEO's daughter had no understanding of the complex API integrations and custom security protocols that made the solution valuable. I told Morrison Industries that I would consider their consulting offer, but I needed to understand the scope of their requirements first. During our conversation, they revealed that they were already exploring alternative vendors due to concerns about the platform's stability and the apparent lack of technical continuity at my former company. Over the next few days, I received similar calls from 3 other major clients. Word was spreading through the industry that the company was experiencing significant technical difficulties and had lost key personnel. The narrative was writing itself. A growing company that had prioritized politics over competence, sacrificing institutional knowledge for nepotism. I watched from the outside as my former employer scrambled to contain the damage. They hired expensive consultants to reverse engineer my authentication system, but the process would take weeks. They issued public statements about temporary technical difficulties and system upgrades, but their stock price continued to decline as clients lost confidence. The CEO's daughter lasted exactly 2 weeks in my former role before being quietly reassigned to a business development position with no client-facing responsibilities. The company eventually hired a senior technical director at twice my former salary to rebuild the platform architecture, but by then, they had lost Morrison Industries and 2 other major accounts. Morrison Industries offered me a consulting contract worth more than my annual salary at the previous company. They wanted me to design and implement a completely new client management system, one that would be owned and controlled entirely by their organization. 3 other former clients made similar offers, each seeking to reduce their dependence on third-party platforms. Within 6 months, I had established my own consulting firm specializing in enterprise client management solutions. My former employer's platform continued to experience intermittent issues as they struggled to maintain the complex system without its original architect. Their client base had shrunk by nearly 40%, and their stock price had dropped to pre-boom levels. The most satisfying moment came when I received a LinkedIn message from my former CEO. He wanted to discuss a potential consulting arrangement, wondering if I might be interested in helping them stabilize their platform architecture. The message was polite, professional, and completely devoid of the arrogance that had characterized our previous interactions. I never responded. Update 1. 6 months after leaving, I learned through industry contacts that my former company was facing a class action lawsuit from clients who had suffered financial losses during the platform outages. Morrison Industries was leading the legal action, claiming that the company had misrepresented their technical capabilities and failed to provide adequate service continuity. The lawsuit alleged that the company had deliberately removed experienced technical staff without ensuring proper knowledge transfer, resulting in system failures that cost clients millions in lost productivity and revenue. Internal emails had surfaced during discovery showing that management knew about potential technical risks but prioritized cost-cutting over system stability. My former manager reached out through a mutual contact, asking if I would be willing to serve as an expert witness in the case. The legal team wanted someone who could explain the technical architecture and testify about the company's internal practices regarding system maintenance and client management. I declined to participate directly in the lawsuit, but I did provide a detailed technical assessment of the platform's vulnerabilities to Morrison Industries' legal team. My analysis demonstrated that the authentication failure was not an isolated incident but rather a symptom of deeper architectural problems that would likely cause future outages. Update 2. A year later, my consulting firm had grown to 12 employees, and we were managing client platforms for 15 major enterprises. The business model was simple. We built robust, well-documented systems with proper redundancy and knowledge-sharing protocols. No single point of failure, no irreplaceable personnel, no authentication mysteries. My former company had settled a class action lawsuit for an undisclosed amount, but industry sources estimated the total cost at over $50 million. They had also been forced to implement expensive system upgrades and hire additional technical staff to prevent future outages. The CEO's daughter had left the company entirely, reportedly to pursue an MBA at a prestigious business school. The CEO himself had stepped down 6 months after the settlement, citing health concerns and a desire to spend more time with family. The company's board had installed a new leadership team focused on operational excellence and technical competency. I sometimes wondered if they understood the real lesson from their downfall. It wasn't about the specific technical failure or the authentication protocols. It was about the fundamental principle that expertise and institutional knowledge have value, and that value cannot be simply transferred or replaced through organizational charts and title changes. Update 3. 2 years after my departure, I received an unexpected call from Morrison Industries. They wanted to discuss a potential acquisition of my consulting firm. Their business had grown significantly since implementing our client management platform, and they were interested in bringing our technical capabilities in-house. The acquisition offer was substantial, more than I had ever imagined when I first started building client management systems in a cramped cubicle. But more importantly, it represented validation of the approach I had taken, building sustainable, well-documented systems with proper knowledge transfer and redundancy planning. During the acquisition negotiations, Morrison Industries' CEO mentioned that they had learned valuable lessons about vendor selection and technical due diligence from their experience with my former company. They now required detailed technical documentation, redundancy planning, and knowledge transfer protocols from all their technology partners. The industry had taken notice as well. Several major enterprises had implemented new vendor evaluation criteria specifically designed to prevent the kind of technical disruption they had witnessed during my former company's platform failures. The incident had become a case study in business schools and technical conferences about the importance of institutional knowledge and proper succession planning. My former company still existed, but they had never recovered their previous market position. Their client base remained smaller, their stock price lower, and their reputation permanently damaged by the association with technical incompetence and poor management practices. I signed the acquisition agreement on a Tuesday morning, exactly 3 years after receiving that first email about my salary reduction. The irony wasn't lost on me that I was now worth more to Morrison Industries than my former company's entire technical division. Sometimes the best revenge isn't dramatic confrontation or public humiliation. Sometimes it's simply building something better, proving your worth in the marketplace, and watching your former tormentors struggle with the consequences of their own poor decisions. They had removed my name from a contract, thinking they could erase my contributions and claim my work as their own. But expertise isn't just about names on documents or titles on business cards. It's about understanding, capability, and the ability to create value where none existed before. In the end, they learned that lesson the hard way, and I learned that sometimes walking away quietly is the most powerful move you can make.